Hello, Star Citizens, and welcome to the In Case You Missed It sale. We had to wait a long time for this one. It normally happens right smack dab in the middle of the month. Well, I guess we can't say normal. It's only happened one time. But I was expecting it to be in the middle of the month, but it looks like it'll be the end of the month. So sorry that you had to wait so long. We will be doing our Perseus giveaway finally at the end at the end of the month. We also, don't forget, are giving away something to our long-term subscribers. I think we ended it either on a Paladin or a Starlancer tack. I can't remember which one, but it's one of those. Yeah, and I'll look it up and I'll put it up here on the screen, whichever one it is. It'll be on the screen. But as always, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like the videos and make sure you leave a comment, and that generally allows you to qualify for most things that we give away on the channel. We're gonna be a little giveaway light next month, but you know, I might be still in the spirit of giving next month, but we're gonna be a little giveaway light because we've been giving away a lot of stuff, but we're gonna be content heavy in February. If you noticed, I took a little bit of a time off. I just wanted to kind of see where the new channel is going to end up, and I think I've got some ideas, so be prepared. There's going to be a new channel launching probably beginning of February. Probably two new channels, non-Star Citizen related, so you know, be on the lookout for that. But let's get into this video. This is the In Case You Missed It sale, so it'll be every ship that was released in 2024, and it'll be every ship that was announced in 2024 that will be for sale. So not all of them are for sale, but that's what we'll see. I do think that I'm not sure if it's the exact same CCUs or upgrades that were available during those sales, but it does look like most of the ships that are here have an available CCU, except for, I think, the Ironclad. So we'll go over those a little bit as well very quickly. But yeah, let's get into this. Starting off with the Argo ATLS. The much maligned Argo ATLS, if you will, is one of those, well, it's a little overpriced, so I don't know if I want it. And now you can buy it in game, so it's kind of a, what do you think? For me, I bought it in game, or I bought it because I wanted that specific skin. I think when it comes to the Atlas, most people will be walking around with one. And I think me as a content creator, I wanted, you know, mine to look a little different from everybody else's. So, you know, I think some of these purchases that I make are not just because I want the ship. Some of them are, I'm a content creator and, you know, people want to see something a little different. But yeah, $40, it's not that expensive. It's probably better to purchase this in game. It's probably not going to get destroyed a lot or something like that. But the way I plan it, I'll have one that I own at my base and at my personal base, and I'll purchase one in game and keep that one at my like home base, and then the one that I used real money on, that one I'll keep at like Everest Harbor or something like that, assuming we can store stuff there. I'm pretty sure we can. And that way I'll always be using that one, and then the one that the other one will just be ready to go somewhere else. And maybe I'll put them at two different locations. I don't know. But the idea here is the Atlas just helps you move boxes. It's the fastest way to move boxes. I know there's a whole history of gameplay being changed just to make the Atlas work, but this was always intended to be a thing, I think. It's just a matter of we didn't really like the way they did it, but it's okay because the Atlas actually turned out pretty awesome, so that's good. I do still think it needs a slight speed update. You know, I think it's like it needs to be like 15% faster, and I think it'll be much more useful, but a lot of people like it as is. So for me, it's an earn in game, or for me, I bought one, but I think for most people it should be an earn in game. The CSV SM. So this to me is going to be a really good ship. I have not reviewed this yet because I think it's better for me to just wait until the other version comes out, which is the CSV FM, which will be the base building variant, or at least until that one's available for purchase, because then I could just do both of them, because I don't know what the price of the other one will be. So yeah, I haven't reviewed this one on purpose, but I do like it. I do think it's going to be a pretty good way to basically to carry stuff around your base. It'll probably be the best way to do it. Carries 4 SCU of cargo, so You know, I don't know what the speed and anything, speed or anything is on it yet, but I'm just gonna wait before I do a review on it. This one, another one that I think you should probably earn in game. However, if you are gonna buy it, I could see people buying it if your entire thing that you do is transport. Like if your primary goal in the game is transport, and you should either have an Atlas or a CSVSM. The CSVSM is like if you know you're going to be transporting things over a longer distance, and you know you're going to, for SEU, is if you can make multiple trips, right? And the Atlas is more so if you just know you're going to be taking it from your spaceship to your hangar, I think. And that's kind of what you're going to use it for. Obviously, if you're going to do base building, I think this is also one of those ones you're going to use. But again, in that case, I think you should purchase it in game. But yeah, let's keep moving. The F-7C Hornet Mark II, I think this is a great combat ship, but it's really only useful if you're going to put that 2 SCU onto it. If you're not going to put the 2 SCU onto it, you probably should be getting one of the other variants. I think those are next. Yeah, so the Tracker or the Ghost. The Tracker is really for you're going to go in, it's a scout ship. You're going to go in, you're going to see what's there, but you can fight, while you're in. You can fight while you're going in to scout. And I also think it'll be a pretty decent command and control ship. I'm hoping that it'll be better at detecting its brother, the Hornet Ghost. So that kind of should be like a rock paper scissors thing where the Tracker gets beat by the base with guns, and then the Ghost is beat by the Tracker, and then the F-7C Hornet, the base Mark II is beat by the Ghost. I think that would be cool if it worked like that, but there are more variants coming. You got the Super Hornet variant coming for sure, which I am really excited to see what that one's gonna look like. I think that one's gonna erase some of the competition, I'll just say it that way. And then I'm also hoping for a Heartseeker, because I don't really need a base Hornet, but I would buy a Mark II Heartseeker. So if they do a Heartseeker Mark II, yeah, I think I would get that. That's the only one I can think of. And I also want to see what the Mark II Wildfire looks like if they do that. They might not do a Mark II Wildfire, but I hope they just do a version of all of them. And I think that would be pretty cool. So let's talk about the Ghost. The Ghost to me is one of the better combat ships because it's harder to track. And also, of course, you can add guns to it and make it even more. This is one of those that I included in a lot of my packs when I did that best packs video, what was it? Best fleet video at every price range. And look out for my solo edition. That's going to be coming out soon. I've been working on that one. I read a lot of your comments. I'm taking them into consideration. We'll see if it changes anything. Yeah, I think the Ghost Mark II is a purchase. I think if you need a scout ship, this is a purchase, but most people don't need a scout ship. This is more for like military orgs. Those are most of the people who like trackers. There might be some other uses for it. I don't personally own a tracker. I remember testing it. I remember liking it. I just remember thinking I don't need one, and I can't think of a lot of uses outside of military use for it. I do think it's going to be one of the best scout ships in the game because it can fight. So I will say, if you need a scout ship, it's probably going to be one of the best. This and maybe one of the alien variants. I think the Cartual might be slightly better as a scout ship, but worse as a fighting ship. Whereas this is better as a fighting ship, but slightly worse as a scouting ship. I think that's the way it's going to end up, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, this is if you need that. If you missed out on the F7A and you want to add a bunch of stuff to this, or if you find a downed F7A, you can take off that turret and put it on here, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure you can. So there's things you can do with all three of these. Moving on, the Guardian, just reviewed the Guardian. I think the Guardian is a great ship. Now, I know there's some issues with its health, but I still think it's worth the purchase. And the reason I say it's still worth the purchase is because all that health stuff is just balancing. Now, I don't know when it'll get balanced, but it will get balanced. It's not always going to stay this ship where you shoot off the wings and then it's dead. So a lot of people hammered me in the comments for that. because they were like, it's not great. It's not great in the fight, and it's not. And the FAC is so much better. I get it. You guys love the FAC. I have 2 of them. I like the FAC too. But what I'm saying is the Guardian in the long term will be a valid fighter, and I think, you know, I mean, I understand your concerns, but I think the Guardian, and let me scoot one, because I think the Guardian QI is the one that you should buy. The Guardian might end up with its own purpose, but I think the Guardian QI, Quantum Interceptor is what I'm calling it. But I think this is the one to purchase if you're going to purchase one. This is for the people who need a heavy fighter, but you can live inside this one. You cannot live inside the FHC, which is my biggest knock against the FHC, outside of the fact that you can't get LTI on it unless you spend a metric ton of money, or if you were one of those lucky people that got one of the LTI ones early on. Yeah, and it's also an extremely limited ship. You got to get a gold ticket to get it, and so on and so forth. The Guardian QI, I do think, is going to be the one to purchase. I'm still looking for a reason for people to buy the base. So yeah, that's what I think. I think the Guardian QI is going to be one of the best heavy fighters in the game when it's all said and done, and when it's balanced. I got to say that again because I know people hammer me in the comments for that. The Intrepid. Now, this was one of the best ships to get with LTI, because it was like a LTI token, and it came with a great package, so you were getting it for super cheap. So by the time you did your upgrade and everything, it was a really good ship for that. Now, as a ship, I think it's a decent ship. I don't think it's a bad ship. I don't particularly like the look of it, but I don't hate it. I do think it's a good starter. I just don't see why I would get this over an Avenger Titan. To me, unless you just like the aesthetic better. To me, I would get an Avenger Titan instead of this, but I do like the interior of it. The interior of the Intrepid is very, very nice. So if you're more of one of those people who walks around your ship a lot and spend a lot of time inside your ship, then I could see why you would go for something like this. And also, a little reminder, like when you're flying your ships, most of the time you just see the back of the ship, and the back of the ship actually looks really cool. While it's flying, the back area of the ship looks really cool while you're flying it. So if you don't really mind that, you know, then hey, there you go. There's your starter ship. The Ironclad. Now, I'm going to do the Ironclad and Ironclad Assault together. I think both of these are must-buys for anybody who's building a large fleet, a very large fleet. These both were in my best fleet video. I don't think people should buy these until you get to like the $1,000 mark. If you're not at that mark and you have one of these, it should be because these ships like speak to you, and they are like everything that you want. Outside of that, I think most people should wait till they're in the concierge club to start purchasing these. The Ironclad, to me, is one of the best ships that CIG has ever created, and I think a lot of people believe that because a lot of people spent money where they said they would never spend money again once this thing came out. So I think that's kind of your sign that the Ironclad is a really good ship. And I think both versions are great. It really doesn't matter which one you get. I think both of them are incredible. I think the Ironclad, you get the Ironclad if you know for a fact that the majority of what you're going to do with the Ironclad is you're going to be doing cargo. If you plan on, you know, carrying vehicles or anything like that, you should be getting the Ironclad. But the Ironclad, well, Ironclad, I'm sorry. I call this the Ironclad. I know a lot of people call it the Death Brick. I can't quite call it that yet because I don't know how much damage this thing can do. I think there's other things that you might be able to call a Death Brick. So I'm going to go with Ironclad for now. And then this one is the Fatter Pillar. We already know that one. But, you know, for me, I think the Ironclad, it carries, what, 400 more SCU than its brother over there. I think it's the good one to get if you know for a fact you're going to be using it for cargo, or I do think it's going to be even better for pirating missions because that top opens up and then you can use the already included tractor beams to get stuff off. The thing with this one, you're probably going to have to take an MPUV cargo with you or something so that you can get cargo off of other ships if you're going to be using it for that purpose. And because you have to store the MPUV cargo, you're going to it's going to take up space inside the ship. So if you're really focusing on cargo, I think you should get the base Ironclad. Now, why would I say get the Ironclad Assault then? The Ironclad Assault is if you're going to be carrying vehicles, or if you're only sometimes going to be doing cargo. I think the other things that Ironclad Assault offers are great. It's going to have that garage in it. It's where you can work on vehicles and work on ships, smaller ships, of course. And then, of course, it's going to have that manufacturing, or you can create, I think, small parts and stuff like that with it. So that's another thing that it can do. It also has a ton of jump seats. It has larger guns, or not larger guns. I think it just has more guns. And they're size 5s, and it has that larger opening so you can fit tanks on the front of it. So I think the Ironclad Assault is one of my favorite ships in the game. I'm still going to do a favorite ships video, so look out for that. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss it. But the Ironclad Assault, I think, is going to be one of the best ships in the game. So you can't go wrong with either one of these. MPUV Tractor, I was just talking about that. The MPUV Tractor came out, and it's probably one of the best ships to get as far as cargo loading. If you have a super large ship to put it in, or if you know that you're going to be loading like hull C's and stuff like that, hull C's, hull D's, hull E's, even, you know, all the way up. You know, hull A and hull B you can load on your own, but hull C's and up, it would be it's pretty nice to have something like an MPUV Tractor to load those up with. Now, it's still going to be pretty slow loading, you know, because you're going to have to take these. These are mostly going to be really useful for once you're like out in atmosphere, you know, or, you know, if you're like at a space station or something like that, moving and putting them if you're doing self-loading. But it's really, to me, not worth the money unless you're going to get a bunch of these and you know like your primary job is going to be cargo loading, and you get a bunch of your friends, because if you all are getting them, you can load stuff up pretty quickly. And I would say unless you have at least 2 friends that have these, I probably wouldn't spend the money on it. Now, again, if your primary job is going to be cargo, if that's the thing that you find the most fun in, I could see you owning everything cargo related. So I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to the other people who are not primarily cargo related. And one thing that's really cool about this, if I'm not mistaken, you can carry 2 32 SCU containers with this. You can carry one with the tractor beam, and then of course one underslung. So if I'm not mistaken, that's 64 SCU of cargo you can carry. Now that didn't sound right to me, but I'm pretty sure you can do that. So somebody, I'm sure will check me in the comments about that. If I remember, I'll put it up on the screen whether or not you can do that. But yeah, either way, even if it can just carry a 32 and a 16 or a 32 and a 24, it's still great. Just because I think the ability to quickly load up will be important in the future. It's not as important now. Most people will just pay to have their whole C loaded because it's so much cargo. But I do think in the future it'll be much more cost effective to load it up yourself. The Paladin. So this one I do think is made for the people who are tired of having to take out they're tired of having to go and get an Andromeda or whatever just so that they can have a decent gunship. I think the Paladin is the ship that is meant to it's meant to be the ship that you take out. It's the most gunship that I see, right? It's got the 4 size 5s that can go at the bottom, at the top. It's got the size 4s on the side. This ship is meant to have 4 people in it, but I will say that I think a lot of people are going to be running it with 2. I think they're going to be running it with a crew of 2, somebody to do the piloting, and I think you can run one of the other guns from the pilot seat, and then somebody's going to be on that size 5 turret. So I think that's how most people are going to run it, and I do think that will be an effective combination. I do think most people should run it with at least 3 people though, because I think having that extra gun online is going to be well worth it. But yeah, I think 4 people in this thing, it's going to be a great ship. I have no doubts about it. It's not a ship that I need. I'm waiting for a little bit more information on the Zeus MR. Because I do have kind of a like for the Zeus MR, and I might be able to replace it with a Paladin. We'll see. But I need at least one of these ships to either give me more information or to be released before I make that decision. So I have a CCU upgrade to it. But I think if you're looking for a gunship, a dedicated gunship, the Paladin is for you. It doesn't have cargo, but I don't think that's a problem because it is meant to be a dedicated gunship. If you want a gunship with cargo, go and get yourself an Andromeda. That has decent cargo. So I think this is meant to fill a space. It's supposed to fill a void. At the same time, I do understand every ship could have like 2 to 4 SCU of cargo and it wouldn't really change the game. So I do understand when people say, you know, it should have 2 or 4 SCU of cargo. I think the way that their CIG is working that is they make the openings large enough to where you can fit 2 or 4 SCU of cargo in there. They're just saying we're not going to give you a dedicated place to put it. And maybe there's going to be a way in the future to lock that down in another way. We don't know. But I think putting 2 to 4 SCU in a large ship like this shouldn't be a problem for most people anyway. I know people want a place to lock it down, but I just, to me, if you're getting in a gunship, you shouldn't be expecting to take cargo. Now, the one thing I will say, and something I do agree with people on, is you do need a way to refuel and rearm ships like this. So being able to take that few SCU of cargo with you would be good in that respect. So I'm hoping that CIG comes up with a solution for that, to where maybe you don't need SCUs of cargo. Maybe it's something inside the ship. Maybe there's an area where you can stack this stuff up on the wall. Or maybe there's a extra container you can take with you that's not based on the SCU compatibility, and it's something that you can just kind of store. Maybe you can just store little tanks inside the storage area. So there's ways that they can get around that. So we'll see what they do. The Polaris, one of the best ships in the game as far as I'm concerned. Now, it used to be one of the best values in the game, but now it's $975 and that's not true anymore. At $1,000 almost, it's pretty much only worth it if you get it with that discount, which is currently available. There's an upgrade right now. I think you can get it for $840. At $840, that's probably as much as I would spend for the Polaris. At $1,000, now you're getting into the range of the Idris. And I think if you're gonna spend $1,000, you might as well just go to the Idris. At this point. Now, if you got the Polaris at cheaper than that, if you got it at $840 or cheaper, then I would say it's probably worth it at that price point. But once you get to a $1,000 range, I'd probably just jump up to the Idris. Save your extra few $100s and jump up and get the Idris, even if it's just the Idris P, because I do think the Idris P plus that K kit, and you don't have to put the K kit on it if you don't want to, but even just that Idris P is going to be slightly better than the Polaris. I don't think by much. I just think because the Polaris has things that are a little bit more useful in certain areas, whereas the Idris has things that are a little bit more useful in other areas. But I do think if I'm judging the ships based on how good of a ship they are overall, I would put the Idris, even the Idris P, slightly above the Polaris, just because it's really tough to take down. So I think it's worth waiting. If you're at this price point and you don't have the $840 to spend and you're going to buy it all with credits, I think you're better off just waiting until you can afford an Idris P. If you can get one, you got to play the F5 Wars to get that thing. Or I think there's like some packs that you can get the Idris P in if you're willing to go that route. That way you don't have to play the F5 Wars. And I might end up getting one. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. If I can't win an F5 war for an Idris M, which you can't because there's no way to do it. But the Idris M is the only one I want. So I'm hoping that there's some type of special sale in the future. Don't need it anytime soon, but like in the next 5 years, if they do like a special sale where I can get an Idris M, that would be the only other ship that I would get, you know, in that way. And I might even melt my Polaris to get it. Because that's the only one that I would trade out my Polaris for. If I ever got an Idris K, Idris P or K, then those ships I would just buy in addition to my Polaris. So yeah, but I think the Polaris is a great ship. Obviously, you need a bunch of crew to run it effectively. But it's this thing, taking down an Idris in this thing, especially if you get 2 of them, it's a cakewalk. Just be wary that it's very hard to get those missiles to lock on to that Idris, because the Idris is very good at missile defense. And those PDCs are really good at blocking missiles, which I really actually appreciate, because it shouldn't be that easy to land missiles on something big like that. Of course, when people design these ships in lore, they're going to make sure that it's not easy to just take them down, because they know a massive missile can be sent at any time. Of course, they're going to have defenses on board to keep that from happening. But I do think PDCs should run out of ammo unless they're laser-based. And then if they are laser-based, they should overheat and have to recharge. So so if you overwhelm with missiles, I still think they should be able to get through. But enough about that. The Polaris is a great ship if you got it at 840 or below. At 975, I would wait. Get yourself an Idris. You'll be better off. The Pulse. Now, the Pulse to me is one of those, well, I think everybody can buy it and there's no problem. It's so cheap, 30 bucks. I mean, that's what, 5 cups of coffee nowadays. Like, it's not that big of a deal if everybody buys one of these. So I'm not going to say it's an absolute earning game. It is really cheap in game. But if you want to buy one, I have no problem with it because it's so cheap. The Pulse is really just there to fit a vehicle in ships that don't otherwise have the ability to fit a vehicle. It can fit through most doorways of most ships, so you can put it in almost anything. That's why I think it's useful. And the reason I would say purchase it with real money is because it'll blow up with your other ship, but it'll also probably be an instant claim. So it depends on what you want. It's not like you can put, even if it has insurance on it, you're just going to get the credits back and be able to purchase another one. The only thing is you have to go to wherever it's purchasable from in order to get one. So if you have in-game insurance on it, it's probably a hassle, depending on, unless it's available to purchase everywhere, which it might be, but it might not. And what if you have to go to a specific planet to get it back? So I think it's worth purchasing. My only thing about it is I don't think it's necessary purchase. So this is something I always tell people, if you're going to buy vehicles, make sure you have all the ships you want first, and then you don't have to worry about it. And this, of course, has a racing variant. I like the size 2 cannon on it. I think it could be a little stronger, but the Pulse LX is, the other variant if you're not interested in shooting with it at all and you just want it to go a little bit faster. That's the version you get. So to me, I think the version that you should get is the regular Pulse, because being able to shoot on a bike, hover bike specifically, is really good. But if you have no interest in that, I think the Pulse LX is the better traversal variant, as in if you want to go places in it. So yeah, make your decision on that one. The Retaliator. Now this is actually a pretty decent upgrade, I'm pretty sure. I think it's like 170. Well, we'll go over that later. But the Retaliator, I think, is good. I think it was better before, so I hope you guys got this ship for a lot cheaper, because now 175 gets you the base variant. It's a little weird that they show you the missiles on here. I wish they would change this picture because it's a little misleading. You do not get this variant. This has modules that you have to purchase. It has cargo modules, living modules, and then of course the bomber modules. There's 2 modules that you have to purchase, one for the front, one for the back, and you have to purchase both to have like a full Retaliator bomber. You have to purchase both the front and the back, which adds cost to this ship. Now, what I like about the Retaliator is its versatility. If you're not buying this to use more than just there's two ways that I think everybody should purchase this ship. If you're going to purchase this ship, it should be because you need both a cargo ship and a bomber ship, or because you need because it is kind of supposed to be like, it's a gunship too. So the idea is, if you want a gunship that's a little bit better looking, because some of the other gunships are kind of ugly, and then you can put some living quarters on it. But living quarters, if you're not going to use at least 2 different types of, the modules that come with it, I would probably go for something a little bit more dedicated. But to me, the bomber variant is where it's at with this. I think it's more so meant to be a gunship. So I think get as many of those torpedoes as you can on this thing. I would say the other acceptable combination for me is if you get some torpedoes and some cargo space, because then it adds a little bit more to the versatility aspect of it, you know, even if it's only a little bit of cargo space. And if they give you the ability to reload from that cargo space, then it's like, well, yeah, I only have two or three what are the things called? I only have two or three torpedoes, but I can reload those two or three torpedoes. Then that makes this ship really unique in that category. So that's what I would say to do with the Retaliator. Do I think it's a must buy? No. I think if you're looking for a gunship specifically, it might be really good for you, but I would say that if you're gonna get this type of gunship, it's because you're hunting larger ships, whereas like something like the Paladin that I mentioned earlier is more so for if you're just looking at something a little smaller to fight. But the Retaliator is gonna do better at the larger ships. Just remember, I think you only get 5 or 6 torpedoes, so if those don't hit, now you're just stuck with a ship that doesn't have quite as good guns as something like the Paladin or the Andromeda. So just be aware that if those torpedoes don't hit, you're going to be stuck with something a little bit less, appealing than some of those other ships. But I do like the ship. I don't think it's purposefully an earn in game or anything like that. It's kind of expensive in game. So this is kind of where you can make up your mind on whether you need it or not. I would say military orgs would probably need it. Mercenary orgs, stuff like that, they're probably going to need it. I wouldn't put 2 cargo modules on this unless you were doing some maybe smuggling or really working with very expensive cargo to where you're going to make a lot of money. Because I do think it is a really good smuggling ship. That's not something a lot of people talk about. I think Paul from Info Runners talks about it a little bit, but yeah, I do think it'll be a pretty good smuggling ship. This Sabre Firebird. Now, a lot of people don't like this ship, and a lot of people have a good reason to not like this ship. It's because missiles don't work properly in the game. And I also think missiles need a lot of balancing. And the reason that a lot of people don't like this is because you get basically it's a stealth ship, right? And when you pull up on someone and you get off those first 6 missiles, you would hope that those first 6 missiles give you enough leeway to where you can drastically take down the shields of something, go in with your size 2s and do some damage, and then by the time you did some damage, you're ready to fire the next 6, keep those shields down with the size 2s, keep firing those size 6 missiles, and then hopefully you can defeat the ship because you're attacking the hull directly with those 6 missiles. The problem is they're size 3 missiles, and size 3 missiles are not really the greatest in game right now, but I do think when they're balanced, this ship will be something to reckon with because it's a very fast ship, and that's what a lot of people forget. It's a fast ship that has size 2s on it, that can do some decent damage, but I think the size 2s are not really meant to fight with. They're meant to keep those shields down after you get them down with the initial missile strikes. So you get the shields down with the initial missile strikes, then you keep the shields down with the size 2s while your next 6 are loading in. You fire the next 6, you keep the shields down with the size 2, and it's going to be hard for people to recover from that. Because you're a fast ship, there's going to be hard for them to kick you out of the sky. I think that's what its use case for. It's a stealth fighter, and it's meant to do the surprise attack as a stealth fighter. I do think that if I had a few ships, extra combat ships I'd get, this would definitely be in my fleet. But right now, I don't need it because I have so many other combat ships. Like I have the F-8C, which to me is just, I don't need to do the stealth as much with that. And I have the Razor EX for when I really, truly want to do stealth. Because most of the time, I don't think I'll need to sneak up on my opponent to defeat them. I'll need to sneak up on my opponent to do either scouting, unless they're a much smaller ship, and then I can probably do the combat with it. Yeah, and I'd rather have the Razor EX because it's also a snub ship. It can fit in a lot of snub ship places. So the Sabre Firebird is a ship I love. I just can't own it right now. I wish I could. But if you're into stealth gameplay, if you're into that surprise attack, and it takes a little bit more work to get a ship down. I would say get this. In the future, though, I think it'll be more useful. Right now, it's not as useful because missiles are broken. But once missiles are what they're supposed to be, I do think this will be a great ship. The Sabre Peregrine, to me, not a great ship. I wish it had just one secondary purpose. I know that a lot of people have talked about it. They talked about needing a dedicated racing ship. I respect that CIG wanted to do a dedicated racing ship. I just don't think it had to be dedicated in this way. I think they could have added some extended ability to scan, so it could be a really good scouting ship. Some extended ability to store, extended storage on the outside. Like you can put, you leave the storage compartments empty if you're racing it, but it has storage that you can put into it when you're not racing. So then you can, put extra things in it and take them with you. Do some delivery missions, stuff like that. I just feel like it needs something in order for me to really see it as a super useful ship. It's a great racing ship. If you are going to race in it, I 100% get why you would give this thing like a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever. But outside of the people who need racing, I think they would sell a lot more of these if they just gave it one secondary purpose. And it doesn't have to be a major secondary purpose, just something. Because I could see a lot of people just buying this because it has better scanners or more stealth or something. I don't know. I don't know whatever they want to give it, but I just think it needs something else. So for me, this is wholly a earning game. Now, the Starlancer Mac and Mac. I wish there was a Starlancer Mac. The Starlancer Max and the Starlancer Tac. I think let's start with the Starlancer Max. So I did a review on the Starlancer Max. I know a lot of people love this ship. I know it's a really cool ship to haul things in. I know that interior is incredible. I don't like the cockpit. I don't like the way it flies. I think it's gigantic, but I also think that it needs a tractor beam, and it doesn't have one. I understand that a lot of people don't think it needs a tractor beam. So if you're not a fan of tractor beams or you don't think it needs a tractor beam, this is probably going to be an 8, 9, or a 10 for you. For me, I think it's, to me, it's a little bit, it's like in between. I give it like a 7.5 or something like that, I think, in my review. So go check out the review. I think I even gave it a second look just to make sure I was getting the score right on this one. Yeah, I think the Starlancer Max is a really good ship. I think it's for people who are looking for something that kind of fits that mid space, and you can fit a lot more cargo on it than I originally thought you could. So I think you're only supposed to be able to fit 128 on it, but I think you could fit almost 300 on it if you do it the right way. So it's a good ship. The Starlancer Tac is another one of those ships that I think is going to be one of the best ships in the game. It has the size 5s, kind of the capability of that Paladin a little bit, because it's going to have that. Now, again, this is one of those ships I think is really good if it's fully crewed. It also has 2 med beds, and it has a hangar for a Fury. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to fit other things in there or if it's going to be perfectly designed for a Fury, but if you can fit other snubs in this thing, oh my goodness, that's going to change the game even more. I'm hoping that you can fit a Razor EX in it, because I have a Razor EX and I have a Starlancer Tac, and I love the Fury, but a Razor EX I would take over a Fury in a heartbeat because of how fast it is, and of course because it has a quantum drive. So I could literally take another ship with a quantum drive, use this as my mothership, take that ship and go do things. I think that would just be really cool. I don't know if it'll fit, but if it can, that's going to take the ship even higher. But it doesn't need it, because the Fury in that hangar is just as good. The Starlancer Tac is great. It still has, 96 SCU of cargo or something like that. It's a cargo ship, it's a medical ship, it's a gunfight or a gunship. It's so many things in one, and I just love that. I love that idea for a ship. To me, again, this is one of the greatest ships. I can't really say it for sure until it comes out, but I think this is going to end up being one of the greatest ships that CIG has ever made because of its overall utility and the fact that it's still a little ugly. I don't really like the looks of either one of these, but I do think that it strikes the balance, right? You're not going to get the prettiest ship, but you are going to get a ship that has insane utility. So This and the Starlancer build, of course, is coming. That's not going to be a part of this, but I think I'll end up owning the TAC and the build. I do think those are going to be two of the best ships that CIG ever made. So there you have it. The Terrapin Medic. Now, this is a no for most people. I'll just start out with that before we even go any further. The Starlancer TAC is a almost yes for everybody, whereas the Terrapin Medic is an almost no for everybody. The Terrapin Medic, to me, is for people who have been waiting on the Terrapin Medic. So if you love the little tiny turtle ship, little tiny turtle, I like the way I said that. Anyway, the Terrapin Medic is for people who like the Terrapin. You have to have some kind of love for the Terrapin because it's got a tier 2 bed in it and it's $220. Now, you could go $30 more and get tier 1s and tier 2s and a mixture of those if you get an Apollo triage. Now, I do think that's the better ship for most people because you're going to be able to do a lot more with that. I wish this had a tier 1 bed. That would make it way more worth the price. I'm hoping that CIG changes that in the future because it doesn't have anything except that tier 2 bed back there. And I think maybe if it had some storage or something else, it needs a little bit more for me to suggest it for people because otherwise I'd say it's an earning game for most people. I do think, though, I own one, but I own one because I just like the Terrapin. But it does have a really good use case. It can take a metric ton of damage. So you can land this thing. It can act as a shield while people are loading up medically, whereas the triage won't be able to do that. Maybe the Apollo Medivac might be able to do that because it'll be a little tougher. But the Terrapin Medivac is that shield that lands right in front of the forces, put some space in between you and the other people you're fighting, right in the middle of the landing zone. You can load people up and then you can go, and this thing will not blow up unless they have some major firepower, like multiple railgun shots type of firepower. So yeah, I think it is it's good for what it's meant to do, which is as an emergency response vehicle. It can heal those tier 2 injuries. It doesn't take as much resources as other vehicles that can carry tier 2 or that can do tier 2 things. So yeah, I think it'll be a really good ship if you use it for what it's specifically intended for. But outside of that purpose, I can't really see it. It's a pretty good bunker runner as a secondary purpose. So I do like it because it does have some utility, but you're not going to want to fight in this thing unless it's a target that's really, really easy. But it can take a punch, and I like that. Gotta respect that. But it's really for the Terrapin lovers. The Ursa Medivac, the only vehicle I think mostly everybody should own. If you don't have a C8R or a medical Terrapin, I think you should own an Ursa Medivac. It turns pretty much any ship it can fit on into a ship with a medical bed, and medical beds are going to be super important. They're already super important, but I think even more important in the future. So I think mostly everybody should own one of these. It is very expensive, so I would say earning it in game is perfectly fine. I think this is going to be one of those ships that blows up a lot, though, and I think for me, if a ship blows up a lot, I prefer to earn it outside of the game. It's not that expensive. It's $60. You can get it. I think when it first came out, it was $50 or $55, so you could have got a little bit. And you could save a little bit of money on it if you are able to find it for war bond sale and you purchase something that's a little bit cheaper, like one of those, I think the best one I would say is if you get the Pulse at $30 and then you could find this one for an upgrade. You can save a little bit of money on it, maybe $5 or so on it. So yeah, I think you can save a little war bond money on it, but it's a $5. So I think this is one of the most the best vehicles in the entire game. So I think most people should own this outside the game. But I have my 5 vehicles, and this is one of them. 5 vehicles that I think everybody should own, or not everybody, but it's okay if you purchase those vehicles with money, and this is one of them. So can't stop singing the praises enough for that. All right, let's do the Zeuses. So these are the 2 available Zeuses. I think the one that's best is not shown here, which is the Zeus Mr. I think the Zeus Mr. is going to end up being the best of the 3, but we shall see. We're still waiting on that one for some gameplay reasons. But between these 2, it really depends. I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's just for different purposes. The Zeus ES is the better daily driver. I think if you're just going to fly around, go from one place to the next, if you're going to go sightseeing or anything like that, if you're going to just go chart jump points, you're going to go pick things up from the ground and pack them in your ship, and you don't need to take that much with you. If you're going to go on some very basic delivery or cargo missions, then you do the Zeus CS. Now, if you want to lean more into the cargo, I think the Zeus CL is going to be better for you. I also think that the Zeus CL is going to be in the long run better because of that ship. I think the abilities of ship tractor beams is going to improve to the point where you can load your entire ship by just landing close enough to your freight elevator, and I think you'll be able to do that in the Zeus CL. And I think being able to land, and maybe hopefully in the future you can open your freight elevator with a remote or something like that, and then being able to land, not get out of your ship, use your tractor beam to load everything up, and then close your doors and fly off, I think would be really cool. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I can see the Zeus CL being perfectly suited for something like that. I also think you could just get out, open your freight elevator, and do this anyway. So I think it's a really cool ship. I just think it's the weirdness of the shape makes it to where you can't fit an Ursa on it, which I think was done on purpose because they want to still leave room for people that want to take vehicles to buy the Freelancer Max, which is the version of this you buy, or the C. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't even know if you can fit one on the C1. But I think the idea is they want people to open this up. They want to open this up to people who are dedicated more to the roles and not really wanting to take vehicles with them. You can, of course, take a Cyclone with you. So you can still take a vehicle. It's just you can't take that Ursa with you. If you could take an Ursa Medivac with you and add a medical bed to this, these would have scored a lot higher on my list. But I reviewed all of them, so go check those out. All right, so here we are at the ship upgrade page. If you're wondering why you can't see me anymore, it's because I forgot to add this part in, but it's here, so let's go. We are going to do the Retaliator. So the Retaliator is the first one. The Retaliator, you spend $5, saving you 15. That is like a 66% savings. We tend to like 75% or more, but 66% is probably the lowest we would go. If you're just getting the 50%, the $5, $10, you want those to be under $100 if all you're saving is $5 or $10. So with this one, we say it's okay, but it's not great. And then if you keep going, you get the same 66% savings from if you pick any of these. So the Sabre Firebird, Sabre Peregrine, F7CR Hornet, F7CS Ghost. I'm gonna go with the Ghost. See, it's $10. You spend $10. Razor EX is the closest ship to it. You spend $10, but you save 20. So it's still 66.6%. As much as you get. Well, I guess you could say it's 50%. Yeah. So, no, it's 66%. You save 10, you get 20. No, that's 50%. You spend 10, and then you get 20. Yeah, that's right. All right, we gotta start that over for the third time. All right, and the first one we will do is the Retaliator. So the Razor EX to the Retaliator, if you look here, you spend 5 and you get 15. So that's 75%. So you spend $5, but you get $15 worth of savings. That is perfectly good. It's not, well, I wouldn't say perfectly good. It's good, it's not great. We look to save, we look to get at least 75% savings. So $5 for a $20 CCU, as in you spend 5 and you get 20. That's where it starts to get good. $5 for a $15, meaning you spend 5 and you get 10. Those are okay. That's where you want those to be under $100, under $150 if you're only saving $10. But 5 for 15 is right in the middle. So you spend 5, you get $15. That's okay. It's slightly better than okay. But the first good one is one step above that, which is you spend 5 and you get 20. But this one's okay if you need it. If you don't need it, you'll probably find another one, a better one later on. But you can always just buy one if it's only $5, so you can always buy one if you're not sure. Then we get a much worse one. So any of these, the Sabre Firebird, Sabre Peregrine, the Hornet Tracker, and the Hornet Ghost, if you go in, it's all the same. You spend $5 or you spend $10 and you get 20. So that's only 50%. That's not good at all. So I would skip those unless you absolutely know that you're going to end up with one of those ships. If that's your final ship, it's probably worth getting. But it's not a great CCU deal. And then if we go past those, there's the Terrapin Medic. This one, the Zeus Mk II MR. So you spend 10 and you get 20. Again, that's 50%. Not great, but again, if you're looking to get a Terrapin Medic, then it's pretty good. But other than that, it's not great. All right, here is the thing. These two connect perfectly. The one I just mentioned, Zeus MR to the Terrapin Medic, and then the Terrapin Medic to the Starlancer Max Warbond. If you connect those, you have kind of a little bit of a closed chain there. Now, I do think you could probably save a little bit more money on that first one, but if you're looking to close a section of your chain from $190 all the way to $250, you can do it with both of these CCUs. So if you buy them together, combined, it's a good deal, but if you don't need to buy them both together, then it's not a great deal, because $5 for 25 is a good deal by itself. So if you don't need both, you can just get the Terrapin Medic to Starlancer Max. That is a good deal. You spend $5, you get $25 worth of value. That's what, 80%? So that's literally top tier type of, the top tier type of upgrade that we're looking for. So $5 for 25, 80% and above. Anytime you're saving 80% or above based on how much you spent, that's always top tier. So anything better than that, of course, is God tier. So there you have it. So let's go to the next one. Now, if you're trying to get to the Guardian QI, this is where it's a little bit different, because now if you're trying to get to the Guardian QI, you get kind of a slightly worse deal because you have to get the Cutlass Steel now, and now you're spending $5 to get $20, which is still good. That's our 75% mark. That's the minimum that you should be trying to get out of any type of CCU/upgrade. So if you're trying to get an upgrade, and 75% is the minimum you should be getting from your upgrades, but you can do better. Just know that. But yeah, so this is going to be your option if you're trying to get to the Guardian QI. Otherwise, you should get the Guardian one, because the base Guardian one is a better CCU, but you should only get that one if you're looking to go above the Guardian QI, because otherwise you're not going to get a better CCU from the Guardian to the Guardian QI. So there you have it for that one. And then I think the next one jumps to like the Carrack or something. All right, so then we have the Hull D to Carrack. Okay, I thought there was one smaller than this. I wish there was, but there isn't. This is your next available CCU, and this one you're spending $10 to get $40. So that is, again, that 75% threshold, which means it's just good enough to purchase. Now, I will say this, the Carrack very often gets CCUs, so you definitely can do better than $10 for 40. Often you'll see $10, you'll see, what is it, $5? No, not $5. You'll see, I think, $10 for 50. What is it, $5.35? Yeah, so from the Ironclad, you'll generally see a good one from the Ironclad. So you'll be able to spend, I think it's like $10, because it'll be a $60. It'll be like $15 for 50 or something like that. It'll be 15, I think. Yeah, $15 for 50, something like that, which is a slightly better deal. So it depends on what you want, how quickly you need the Carrack. I would say you can get a better deal though than this one. It's a good one though. So if you're ready to upgrade, then do it. The thing is, the Hull D is only available, what, maybe twice a year. So and you got to get lucky, I think, on that second time. So yeah, I would say the Hull D is it's a good ship to upgrade from if you can wait, but otherwise you're probably going to want to get something like the Ironclad, which makes this a lot more expensive. All right, that brings us to our final one. Now, you could either do the Hull A or A2. Actually, probably the A2 is probably better because the A2 is sold at least twice a year. So the A2 is probably the better one to do here. So the Hull E to the Polaris. Now, this one is $100. Now, the Polaris went up in price. So if you look here, you're getting $225 after spending $100, which is slightly better than 50%. It's not great, but it's probably the best you're going to get, to be completely honest with you. The most ships are only $750 when they're available. You might be able to get a 890 jump to Polaris, but then you're buying a limited ship just to get an upgrade to a non-limited ship. So that would be very weird to do, but you can do it. But either way, that you're still spending the money. So if you buy a 890 jump with credits, then you can keep from spending as much money, because then you could do an 890 jump to a Polaris by spending, or no, actually, I don't think you can. If you get a cheaper Polaris, no, you still can't do that. So no, you can't do that. You can't do the 890 jump. You got to get a Hull E or an A2. Those are the only ways you're going to get it. I would probably go with the A2. The A2, if you need a Polaris, yeah, at $975, it's very expensive. At $840, it's right on the money for how much I think it's, well, $975 is about how much it's worth. But I still think it's slightly overpriced because of what it was sold for before. Not because of the value of the ship. I just think it was sold for so much cheaper before that $975 seems more, way more expensive. But it's a good price for the ship. I just think at $975, you might as well just save your money up and get an Idris, which the Idris is slightly better of a ship. You know, as much love as the Polaris gets and deserves, the Idris is slightly better, and I think if you're spending $1,000 already, you might as well save an extra $300 and go ahead and get an Idris. So that's the only thing. But at $840, if you can get it at $840, that's when I think it's good. So if you got $750 worth of credits, you'll have to spend that extra $100 in, well, was it $840? I think it was $840. Oh no, it was $850. So yeah. You'll have to spend an extra $100 of actual US dollars to actually get to the Polaris using mostly credits. Now, obviously, you could just spend 975 credits. I don't think that's worth it. I think you should just, you buy the $750 ships, spend the $100 US cash, and then, well, US dollars for us anyway, and spend that $100 and get yourself that Polaris. I honestly think, though, at this price point, you're probably better off saving up, getting yourself an Idris, unless you really specifically want the Polaris. The Polaris is serving a different purpose. It's a smaller ship. It's a faster ship. However, it's going to be a weaker hull ship, so the defensively it's weaker. And of course, you get that size 10 gun on the Idris if you get the K, and of course you get the defensive nature of the Idris, and it's, you know, pocket carrier and all that. So yeah, the A2 to the Polaris is the one I would do, not the Hull E. But either way, the idea here is, you know, what you're getting for the money, at $840 is worth it. At $975, I have questions. So yeah, it's up to you whether you prefer the Polaris or the Idris. But there you have it. There's your CCU guide. Back to our regular video. And that is it. That is the end of our class of 2024, in case you missed it, sale. If you have questions, let us know in the comments or join the Discord, and we will try to answer those for you. And you can always message me on Discord, or just leave some comments down there. I know some people are going to disagree with some of the things I said about the vehicles. That's okay. That's what the comments are for all the disagreements. But anyway, I'm Billionaire Ninjas. This has been a really, really good time to restart the videos. I'm gonna get back to streaming, so if you've been waiting on my streams, I'll probably stream right after this video, so go and check that out. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.